Hello there everyone, it's Carol here from the Crafty Emporium. Hello. I finished it. I finished the journal. I have learnt some lessons through making it, which I will share with you because I think that you might find the information helpful. But yeah, so this is the kit that I used from Victoria Designs called Mad About Sewing, and it's their new project pack which has got tons of stuff in it. But this is the one that I ended up making, which is a new type of journal for me because I was inspired by a couple of other books which I showed in the very first video. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a close-up. So I've got some charms on a ball pin attached here, dyed some seam binding to match the colourway, did the buttons as I said, so I cut up one of the graph papers. This is on one of the pages, so I actually cut it out and stuck it on top and then stitched some buttons to the piece of card. My mannequin, and then I've got a little crochet doily piece here and attached a button to it. Sorry, I've got my camera in a different position, so I'm learning to, I keep taking things off to this side. I'm sorry, I'll try and keep it centralised. Added the button, added the piece of card, added some more crochet doily, and added a little bit of cheesecloth up here as well. I've also put in a pen, and to the pen, to the little clippy bit, I've just added a ball pin and put a purchase tassel on there as well, just to add a little bit of extra, you know, something. So let's get into it and I'll show you the inside. Now, the main thing that I learnt from this, well, there's two things really, but one of the things that I learnt from doing this is it's not a journal for adding loads of pockets and all those extra bits that we add into it, the envelopes and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a journal for writing in, really. As you can see, it ends up quite bulky, adding all the extra bits in. And so if I was to create this journal again, which I think I would actually do one of these again, I wouldn't add so much to it. So that's one lesson that I've learned. Now I also might need to turn this on its side to get everything in frame, so otherwise I'm going to keep sliding it up and down. So on the inside cover, I added one of the strips, so I added a pocket on, and I made a big tag out of one of the papers and attached some lace and bits and pieces to it. The other thing that I did was I added a tape measure strip across up here to try and tidy this up a bit, and this was the second thing that I learnt from making this journal, where I added the fabric. Because of how many pages that I put in here, I wish that I'd put actually a piece of card on top to just make it that little bit more sturdy. So I probably wouldn't put as many pages in as I did do, and I would add that piece of card on top instead of the fabric, and then possibly put the fabric on top of that, or get a piece of card, wrap it with the fabric and then stick it on top to just make the spine a little bit more sturdier. So that was the three things that I learnt from doing this. It's not a journal that you can decorate highly like I've done on this page here and a few others. It's a journal that needs, if you're going to have so many pages, it's a journal that needs a slightly more sturdier spine, but with fewer pages it works absolutely fine. Okay, so those were my things that I learned from doing it. The other thing is that I will get around to showing you in a minute. So do you remember the 3 longer pages that I did? So it just shows how it's separated each of the sections, so that if you did want to make it into, you know, a sectioned journal, then you can do by adding those slightly longer strips on the bottom. So let's get to the inside. So on here, on this first page, added some of the papers, ripped them, inked them up, some lace, a ball pin and a button charm. I made this little envelope out of one of the papers, added some of the words on here, and you'll see I've used the words quite a lot, but I've done the envelope so that it opens out so that you could write on the envelope. Let me see if I can get this slightly better for you. There. So you could write on the envelope if you wanted, but it's also a place for storing bits and pieces in there. And in fact, this is the way in which they used to keep like packs of needles. If you look at vintage sewing needles and other pieces of vintage sewing ephemera, they used to have little pockets, not necessarily envelopes, but little pockets that used to open up fully, and then you would find all the bits and pieces stored inside. So the second one I've just left fairly plain, and then I've added this lady at the bottom and another one of the sets of words here saying to sew or not to sew. I've also done some faux stitching on there as well with my pen. I added one of the banners at the top of that page to just add a little bit of decoration. This is one of the vellum pages that I created, and I attached it with a paper clip to stop it from opening up. So I just did a banner paper clip, and then you pull that back and it reveals a photograph. So it could be a photograph of a piece of embroidery that maybe you've done, or something, or a dress that you've made. So that's a great place. Put that on later. That's a great place for storing those kind of memories. This page is just blank, nothing to see, nothing to see here. This was a page that I did as a flip up, and on the actual page it has an image at the bottom of a vintage sewing machine. So what I did was I got a glassine bag and I cut the back of the glassine bag off, but I left it with a thin border going around the three sides so that I could use the border part to attach it onto the page. And it also means now that this image is more visible from the front. And then I've added some of the clusters on the front, and then I added a little card and a tab on the end there. And then that flips up to reveal this picture here. Let me move that pen out of the way as well. So again, stuck the picture down, used the buttons, put a ball pin, some scraps of the fabric, and then attached it so that it's glued around those three sides, so then I could put a journaling card in. Because one of the things you need to remember when you're adding pockets on this type of book is that at some point your pocket will be upside down. So if I'd had it so that, say, the bottom was open, then when I lift it up, whatever was going to be in it was going to fall out. The same as if I had this pocket open, this part open here as the pocket, at some point it would be upside down and whatever was in it would fall out. So invariably the sideways pocket is probably the best way to go on a flip journal. On this bottom piece here, I did actually end up adding a thin piece of lace on the bottom here, a couple of buttons, another envelope, and then I have got one of those pockets that if when you tip it upside down, the likelihood is that it will fall out. But what I put in there is actually quite thick, and so it's kind of, it's not wedged in there, but it's held firmly. So it was just a piece of leftover paper that I'd got, and I just folded it into three and put it inside. The top of this page, I added one of the oval images that's in the kit, and I put some cheesecloth behind it, but I also added, you can see that okay, I added some brads there as well, so it looked like a vintage sign. And then obviously, as you can see, I added words to form a little bit of a border and maybe even a starting point for what was going to be written on the page. On this one, I did another type of envelope, but this was one that I just made from folded paper. And as you can see, I put it on a slight angle. So it means that whatever I slide underneath there might not have the tendency to fall out quite as much as if it was square. So I've made it into a belly band type envelope, and I've magnetised it so that this lifts up and then I've done it with 2 pockets inside so that you can add some cards in there. So there could be instruction cards on a different type of sewing method maybe. So that's that one. And then on this one, this strip always cried out to be a belly band. And so I made it into a belly band, and I added some lace, and I added some more of the words, and then I've just slipped 2 pieces of paper underneath there. This was a coffee dyed paper I'd got, and this was a page from the actual kit itself. Now again, because it's a sideways, it means that those papers shouldn't fall out too easily. So a vertical belly band works really well. This page is just blank, nothing to see. This was another flip page that I added using the kit, and I've just decorated it up a little with one of the cards from well, 2 cards out of the kit, so I sat one on top of the other. Used the tape measure to just decorate the top, and I corner punched, can't speak, corner punched the paper just to add a little bit of a decorative element. And then when you flip it up, I added a pocket in here. I did some glossy accents on the clock face, some buttons, a bit of crochet doily, and then added 2 journaling cards. So those were 2 of the journaling cards, and then I just folded up one of the pages to include in there. I'll do that later. Nothing to say on this one. Now these were 2 of the pockets that were in the kit, and they're actually meant to sit at the bottom, but I actually have put them on sideways, so if you actually have a look, the text is sideways on, but I don't mind that. And again, this is another way of holding something on the page that for this type of journal works really well. So if you have a pocket at the top, pocket at the bottom, then it acts as a space to actually put stuff in. The same as if you have a pocket there and there, then you can slip stuff into those pockets. So this page just pulls out. This is another one of the vellum pages that I created. Added another one of those oval images. Put a little piece of the tape measure here on the side and also on the back, and then I've added some buttons on. So this also almost becomes a little thing that you hold on to sort of pull it open. And again, there's another photograph underneath there. Nothing on that one. This was the flip out pocket page. So I added a tab on the side so that again you've got something to hold on to be able to flip that open. And I didn't do anything on here because I wanted some writing space left within it. I added a pocket on the front with some lace, and to the journaling card I just added a little piece of lace that I'd cut out, a little bit of the tape measure wrapped round from front to back, and a button on there so that sits in that pocket. And then in the top of this, because this was a pocket, I actually added some coffee dyed, move it across, some coffee dyed paper in there so that could be pulled out and written on too. Nothing wants to go back in easy today. Go on, there you go. Next page. So I did a little mini collage. So one of the ovals, a piece of the ripped graph paper, one of the words, and then I used a Tim Holtz little mini paper clip to make it look as though it's holding that in place. This was a piece of the graph paper that I did as a flip up, and again I added some words at the bottom to act as a little bit of a tab so it extends just beyond the edge of the graph paper, and then I put another word on the other side to give it that little bit of extra support. So that now acts as a little tab to lift this up. And on this page I fussy cut out one of the images and did the word creativity at the top and did some faux stitching around the outside edge of the page as well. And then on the bottom of this page I added a pocket and I made a tag out of some of the leftover paper, and again I added a ball pin and a little sewing charm, so it's a little pair of stalk scissors. So I haven't done anything overly fancy with the tags and the booklets because I don't think you need to always. This was a piece of leftover paper. I just folded it in half. I added a little strip of the red linen effect paper and a button to just give it a little bit of interest, and the red just helps to tie it all together, otherwise this page was looking really beige. And then with some scrap leftover bits of coffee dyed paper, or tea dyed paper I should say, I just stapled those inside the little booklet, and so the booklet sits in the pocket but the front cover sits on the outside. And then I've got this huge paper clip because of tipping it upside down it would likely fall out, so I attached the paper clip at an angle to sit on the booklet and the pocket to hold it in place. This one I did a fair bit of collaging at the top here, so I added some fabric, some lace, one of the pre-prepped mini clusters that I made in a previous video, and I got them to such a stage that I didn't add the final elements to it so that I could actually finish zhuzhing it up once I attached it to the journal so that it all sort of blended together. Added a little bit of cut-out lace. Another piece of lace here that's attached with a ball pin and a button. It's a little bit of like voile netting there, tulle netting I should say. And then left this page fairly blank. Left that page blank, but then on this one I added 2 layers of lace here at the top. Oops, sorry, camera jolting about. 2 pieces of lace there at the top and one of the little paper book page paper flowers. Added an envelope here which I just glued down the sides, and then I've got just tucked another piece of paper in there that I've cut into a tag shape, and then you've got the envelope here that you can store some bits in. So blank on that side, and then on this one you've got the lift up vellum paper, and again with another photograph underneath. Now I liked this page. So this was a page from the kit and it's got the image on it of a little booklet, and so I made a little pretend booklet out of some tea dyed paper, and I stitched 2 of them together to form a little mini booklet and then glued that on top of the image. So if I show you, that's the image that's already printed onto the page itself, and then I've added a couple of little extra pages on there to make it interactive. Left that page blank. And then on this one I cut out, this was the file folder pocket, so I cut that out, and then with some of the I reduced this page down from the kit and just folded it in half, so it's almost like a little mini file now because I've added the words on the sides, so that yeah, it's fine. So that you could add some papers in there relating to that particular subject. And then this was the double fold out page, so I added some of the words on the edge here again to just define the 2 different pages that are there, and to give that edge of the page a little bit of extra support for when we flip it over. And then I've added an image on the back. This was the other part of the page, and then I've added one of the strips on the side here and a little mini pocket from some leftover paper, and made a little tag out of this lady that was left over. And then on here I added the tape measure and I put some lace underneath it. Added I punched out this shape with one of my punches and then added some words. And then on the bottom here I cut this one out. I corner punched the corners, surprisingly. You're not going to use a corner punch on an edge, Carol. So I punched out the corners and attached it around 3 sides so that then you could put a little piece of paper in, and again that avoids that falling out. Then added one of the little oval images again and put some lace on the end of that page. And I haven't done anything to the back yet. I added another one of the little cutouts onto the back here to give that back page that little bit of extra support, and that's it. So that was the journal that I ended up making with the digital kit from Victoria Designs. The link for that is in the description box down below, and I do apologise, and I have corrected it, but the link didn't work on the second and the third video, but I have rectified that now. So yeah, well worth getting the kit. It was good fun to play with, and the thing is, with it being sewing, there's so many options with it. I've made this to showcase the kit. If I was doing another one where I wasn't just showcasing the kit, I would do a lot more with it. So I would use the pattern paper in it and make ruffles from it and stuff like that. I mean, really, considering I do a lot of embroidery and stuff, there's a whole load of stuff that I would add to it that I haven't done this time, but I would do a different type of book this time. And I thought it was quite funny that Tina actually did her journal that way. So we both did a similar type of journal, but she did hers that way with the pages from the kit, and I've done one very, very similar but this way. So I thought that was quite amusing. That appealed to my weird sense of humour. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Thank you for having joined me on the mini series. I hope that you learned a few things from it, and I hope that if you've purchased the kit that you will have as much fun using it as I have. And if you haven't purchased it, maybe it's one to add to your wish list. Anyway, I'm off to go and do a bit more. See you later. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.